All right, welcome back. In the previous video, we successfully built our Fabrics notebook. We defined the custom schema, read data from the source, which is the daily storage, and we implemented the merge operation and successfully loaded the data to the destination, which is the bronze layer of the Fabrics Lakehouse. So everything worked perfectly there. So we did not have any problem. But there is one issue with the Fabrics notebook itself. Most of the important values are hard-coded, which is not the best practice. For example, the workspace name, what we've done in the notebook is that we've created a variable to hold the workspace name, and we hard-coded the name itself. The same for the storage account, the Lakehouse name, or the bronze Lakehouse schema, and so on. That might work perfectly in development environment, but it becomes a huge problem when we're moving our solution to the different environment, for example, to test or production. That's where the real enterprise best practices come in. So in this video, we are going to take our Fabrics notebook to the next level by implementing the variable library. We are going to learn how to dynamically read the values of the variable from the variable library. We are going to make sure our notebook is reusable across multiple environments. And we are going to properly structure our notebooks for enterprise level Fabrics solution. We're also going to discuss which variables belong to the variable library and which one stays in the notebook itself, or which variable can be defined at the Fabrics pipeline level. This is a real-world scenario that we are going to learn a lot. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Okay, so here is where we left off our notebook from the previous video. So we've got our variables defined there, the file paths, and then the schema definition, reading the file from the source, and then basically our merge statement here. I've made one small change. We've got the in the merge statement, we've got the Lakehouse name, the schema, as well as the table name hard-coded, instead of pointing it to, getting those values from the variables, because we've got the variables that's got the table name, the schema, as well as the Lakehouse here. So that's the change that I've made. So here is the change. So merging two, then the values are coming from the variables, the Lakehouse name, the schema, as well as the table name. That change has been applied to the code that I showed you in the previous video. One additional change, the data type for the ingested date. As you know, this ingested date is coming from the variable again, from here, and that's in text format. So I just want to make sure the date is converted, the value is converted into date format, because when we define the DDL statement here, the ingested date is in date data type. So I've, in the new updated code here, I just, make sure the data type for the ingested date is, converted or casted to date. So those are the only changes that I've made here. Other than that, everything is as it is. What we are going to do in this video is that we've got our variables here. One of the first things that we are going to do is we are going to create a variable library in Microsoft Fabric. Variable library, we are going to capture those variables in the variable library and dynamically read it from the library, so that whatever we are developing here is following the best practices, especially if we are building enterprise level data engineering solutions. The main purpose of variable library is to store values that may change between environments. Like, for example, we are currently working in the development environment, and we are going to promote this notebook to test and then to the production environment. So there are some values, like the workspace name, for example, is environment dependent. It has got this name in development environment, and then in the UAT, the workspace name is different, and in the production, we have a different workspace name. So in that case, when this code is promoted, then it has to point to the correct workspace. That's why we need to keep this kind of values in the variable library. There are also some reusable variables that we can use them again and again in different notebooks and pipelines. For example, the schema here, the landing schema here, we used it in this notebook here. And this is for the, ingesting the address table. We've got the customer table, we've got the customer address table, as you remember here in the source. And we are going to reuse some of these values. The landing, for example, the landing container, that's reusable. So those kind of values also needs to be stored in the variable library. So the workspace name, the storage account, the storage container, the bronze lakehouse name, the schema, those kind of variables, they are a perfect candidate for the variable library because we do not want to hard code them directly inside the notebook. For example, today, our development environment may use one storage account, but tomorrow the production environment may use a completely different storage account name. So instead of modifying the notebook, every time that the values are changing, we simply update the variable values in the variable library so that things are done in a much cleaner and much easier way to maintain as well. But not everything belongs to a variable library. We have to avoid storing temporary or runtime generated values in the variable library. For example, if you've got a current time variable or ingested date or a file name or directory name, those kind of variables are, they are dynamic and they are notebook specific, or instead they are generated during notebook or pipeline executions. So the ingested date, this one, for example, we can pass it from the pipeline, the Fabrics pipeline. So that can be a pipeline specific variable. And those one, the table name, the folder, as well as the file name, those are really notebook specific variables. So we'll just define them at the notebook level and use them there. That's all about the variable library. So what we are going to do is let's go ahead and create the variable library in Microsoft Fabrics and then store these values, and we'll come back and see how we are dynamically reading those values from the notebook here. Okay, so let's go ahead and create the variable library. For that, we have to go to the workspace. So I'm going to workspace here, and then it's a new item. From here, search for variable library. Click on that, give a name, and then create. Okay, so here we will create the first library. This is the variable library which holds all the variables in the development environment. And then, if you've got a different environment, like a test environment, you just go ahead and create another library, and then the same for production environment. So our first variable is the workspace name, and the data type is basically string, and the value is you just need to put your development workspace name, and then click on add variable. And the second one is basically the bronze lakehouse. Put it there. The data type is string, and then the value is basically the bronze lakehouse name, or the bronze fabric lakehouse name. So that way we'll go ahead and define all the other variables, and I'm going to go ahead and define as well. Okay, so here they are. I've got the storage account. The storage account start here. The schema as well as the storage container. So I've defined all my variables within the variable library here. The next thing is let's go back to the notebook, and now we have to, instead of hard coding the values here, we have to read them from the library. So for that, for example, let me just pick up that. I can leave it here as well. So instead of having it here, so we have to say notebook utils dot variable library dot get, and then from here we need to define the f string basically. So within the f string, so $, then within that we've got a /*/ basically this stands for search, search everywhere within the variable library to locate my specific variable library, which is ours is, what is the definition of our variable library? The name of it is this one here. So we have to locate in whatever environment we are in, whether it's development, test or UAT, or in a production environment, we have to look at these variable libraries. That's why we use that backslash star backslash, and then put the variable library name here. So once the process identified this variable library, and then what we need to is basically pick up the workspace name. Basically, this is my workspace name here. That's it. This makes it dynamic. So if we run this notebook in a dev environment, it will go and pick up the workspace name for the development environment. If we run it in the production, then it will pick up the production. So let me just excuse that. This is going to fail, I'm sure, when we try to print this value. It's failing because we have to call the functions. Run it. It is failing here. It's actually not because of that, but the reason is we did not save our variable here. So it's not being recognized by the notebook. So let's go ahead and save it. And then come back and execute this. Okay, now if I get the value of that, I'm sure I'll get the development workspace name. So that way we'll go ahead and define all the other one, and then we'll come back and continue. All right, so I went ahead and completed all the variables. I basically just copy-paste that one, then change the name of each variable at the end. So that's done. Let me execute it and verify my work again. And if I do that again, and then I've got all the variables picked from the variable library here. All right, that's good. Like we said, this is going to be defined from the pipeline, so it's good to put it in a separate pipeline here, separate cell here, and then maybe change that cell into a parameter, toggle as parameter here. And then everything is okay now here. Let's just readjust a little bit, and then we'll run the pipeline. So we don't need this, so delete that. We don't need this one as well, delete that. And maybe let's, we don't need this one as well. Clean up. Let's bring that one to this here. And then remove that. Okay, so that can be removed. That can be removed as well. Okay, so yeah, one more thing, because the file name here, let me show the file name here. So if you go to RS folder here, under this container, when the ADF pipeline executes on this date, it just gives the date, the timestamp of the date was executed. And it's dynamic, isn't it? So if I execute the ADF pipeline, it will have the address underscore the date of the execution timestamp there. So that extension, that file name, is the timestamp is always dynamically changing, isn't it? So for that, it's better to use a wildcard here, so that we will read, we'll read all the files there, all the file names for that specific date. Yeah, everything looks good. So now, since we changed it, the variables to be read from the variable library, let's just do one more run and test the process. So execute run all. Excellent. So the notebook executed successfully. So you can see the merge operation completed. So this update worked as expected. And if I go to the browse the Lakehouse and maybe bring that and execute it. Yeah, so everything is good here. We got everything here. So what we are going to do in the next video is we are missing one more thing for this notebook. Before we go to the Fabrics pipeline to orchestrate and automate the whole processes, we need to put some exception handling. What if something happened and this pipeline failed? How do we capture the error logs? And that's exception handlings. And we are going to add some the try-catch exception logic to capture all the exceptions or the errors or any informational messages that are coming out of the pipeline execution in in a permanent storage location, so that we can go back and refer to those outputs to check any if there is if the notebook failed, why it failed, and to troubleshoot our notebooks, or if there is any bottlenecks that's delaying the execution of the pipeline, we can refer to the output message from the exception handlings and improve or enhance the notebook activity. That's it from this video. I will see you in the next one.